series. These are
Oh,
two
yeah.
relatively high-seeded teams, and I love seeing teams like this come at it because it's one of those things where you're getting into playoff seeds, not necessarily playoff, like, ability, and that's fun to watch when, like, you have a team that's really fighting for that higher seed.
Right. As it stands right now, after the first sets that have been played tonight, Divine Ascension Obsidian just came off a tie against Degenerate Esports, the top seed in the league. So it was 1-1. And that actually sets them up currently now to be tied for second place at 14 points, respectively. So they're actually right there in terms of seeing. Darkside, though, has yet to play anything tonight. So they're still sitting pretty right around that fourth, fifth position. So definitely on the higher end of the bracket, but still definitely more contestable of a team. I will say Darkside is or has not come off of, any game tonight, and they're coming in fresh with a sub in their mid lane.
Yeah, so I mean, it's always that question of mental fortitude right now. If you are playing for DAO, you just came out of I think you said it was 80 minutes of gameplay, a 30-minute
Yeah,
game, and a 45-minute game in game two. I mean,
crazy.
you just have to get right into that next series immediately. I mean, there's not as much time to talk through prep, everything you want to do that had to be talked about earlier. So you're just kind of instantly switching mindsets. Whereas, Darkside's coming in completely fresh, like you were saying. It's very different mindsets for these teams, and hopefully Dow is at a place where they're feeling good, at least off of just winning a game against the top seeded team. So at the very least, you have the adrenaline running high, and you just have to keep that hype going. But any kind of pause or anything like that could really threaten
Really
them, and
mess
that's
it up.
that's something that you got to worry about.
I will say Dow though they were playing against what is an incredibly fighty, beefy team here, and they're coming
Hmm.
off that win. This is definitely going to be lowering the totem pole in terms of quality of play. Darkside, while they are really really
Yeah.
good, have not found the same success that General Esports has. So it's definitely going to be something a little bit less contestable for them. But at the same time, they still got to step up and ante up to find themselves a victory. Either way, picks
Yeah.
and bans coming through. Bans are all out. We got 4 picks on the board.
Yeah, so one thing looking at the bans that's actually kind of interesting is I think banning Seraphine on blue side, it doesn't it does kind of force the Udyr ban on the red side because then you don't want to let either of those picks come up. I do
Right.
think though that if you are on blue side, you would rather have the Seraphine pick. I'm assuming it's because whoever their support is doesn't play it, but again, it just goes back to Seraphine winning the Seraphine Udyr prio pick matchup. So if you are able to secure that, you do kind of win out there. But if you don't play it, you don't play it, and you just don't really have a choice at that point.
Right. At this point, though, we've got support, jungle, and top side all set up across the board. Still waiting on mid and 80 carry. But either way, matchups here. You've got the Morgana versus Leona, both of which heavy control now in the bot side for
Hmm.
both teams here. I definitely favor out the Morgana, especially because she can play around that black shield, though, to make sure Leona never really gets a chance to get full on lockdown. But once it's down, it's down. Either way, Hecarim versus Graves, a little bit more pacing on Hecarim's favor, but Graves definitely having the damage to boot. And then Aatrox versus Darius, a skill matchup that definitely will play into either side's favor.
Yeah, I like pairing the Leona with the Graves there because it does allow you to kind of not have to worry as much about Graves' lack of gank ability or CC that he brings in the later stages of the game because Leona just brings so much of that. And especially if you have a support player that knows how to roam correctly, then it's kind of like having a second jungler almost at that point.
Right.
But then so I mean that's a really good way to shore up something that you're not necessarily first picking but could potentially pick later on down the line. I think the Aatrox is a fine priority a blind pick. Uh,
Ooh,
that champion's solid, and I don't actually know how the Darius matchup goes. I'm
MF is
not
still up.
super familiar with that.
Galio coming through for mid side. I'm curious to
I
see
like
who
that.
Divine Ascension plays out in the bot for them to complete that Leona pairing. Notably, you still have picks like Misfortune still on the board. Ash is still readily available if you want to go something a bit less damage but more engaged centralized. But Dow, they do play that Leona combo breaker many,
I'd,
many times through Divine
I'd
decks.
actually
So,
really like to see an Ezreal here. I think Ezreal would work really well.
ooh,
You have a team that okay. I mean,
sorry.
MF is also fine. No, it's
I
it's.
called
I
it.
think MF
I'm the
is.
color
You
now.
did.
All right,
You did.
Raptor. I'm the color now. Look at me.
Look at
Look at
me.
me. I'm the color now. All right, no, I'm kidding. It was an obvious pick. Anyone with two brain cells could have seen it.
Oh, okay. I
Maybe
think MF
not
is
you though, one brain cell boy.
Hey.
All right.
Listen here, you
PM
Phil.
on the desk.
I like the MF, but when you're looking at things like the Hecarim, you don't have necessarily a lot of peel coming out for it because your Leona is going to be the primary engage for that team, with the Galio kind of having to follow up on that to
Right.
make sure that there's something there. So if anything gets past that front line, there's no peel for MF. So she's going to have trouble like finding really safe, secure ultimates, and I think that that's a bit of a struggle there. Whereas if you're looking at Ezreal, there's no real tank on the other side, and that's the only thing that really Ezreal struggles with right now. Hecarim's not building armor, Darius isn't building armor, so building those damage items that he likes to build right now, the Essence Reaver into Duskblade build, I'm a huge fan of. I think would still put out a ton of damage against this team, and at the same time kind of mitigate some of that factor because they of just not being able to be on your own and be safe because
Right.
there's so much go forward. But at the same time, Dow must be really betting on the fact that they can just land this big AoE bomb where they just run in, CC everybody, MF ulti, everybody dies, go about their day. That's it's a relatively straightforward team comp, but if it
Ooh.
works, it'll just work. Meanwhile, on Darkside, the Darius pick is interesting because it's I struggle a lot with understanding how Darius fits into competitive drafts. I understand that the pick is very strong when you go into laning, and I think he can win out on this Atrax Trox matchup, but it's basically one of those things where like you you need your Darius to be able to threaten a side lane because he's not necessarily going to be as useful in the 5v5. He may in
No.
this case because you have a team that's trying to really go in and get on top, and as long as Darius isn't just, stunned, taunted, and whatever forever, then there's a chance he can really pull off some big moves. But I think he may struggle in some of the 5v5s, but who knows? Maybe he's able to just kind of go stride breaker, get through that front line, find the MF, and really start turning things. And some armor wouldn't hurt here. Galio is your only magic damage champion on that
Right.
source, so he does have to build more of an AP Galio. He can't really source into tank, or else there's just no threat and no one's gonna do any damage. But it's a weird balancing act. And I also really, really like the Xayah and Vladimir pickups. Xayah is going to be able to do a lot to dodge out on some of these abilities and play position as long as she positions smartly, stay on the back of the engage, and then you have Galio Aatrox Leona going in very short range. She'll be able to get some really nice combos off there. I'm a Xayah one trick, so I'll definitely be looking at
Mm,
mechanics and things like that very very closely. Not one trick, but she's my most played champion in
one
Bay.
trick.
She and I like the Vladimir
Continue.
pickup a lot here too, as the same thing where you're looking at, okay, this is this team who's trying to get on us, AoE, CC, bomb, everyone dies. Well, Vlad says, okay, I'll just pull. And if he's able to get these smart pulls off, get flanks off, I mean, they have no way to peel Vlad off of MF while also engaging. Because if they don't engage and they try to peel Vlad, then Hecarim is just going to charge in off you with Darius off the side, and you won't really have any way to get off of Xayah while Morgana is peeling and supporting her. So I really like the way that Darkside has built up their draft, and I think that as long as they're playing around Dow's ability to just immediately murder someone if they catch them, then I think they do have kind of their win condition through Vladimir and Xayah.
I think if I had to listen to that over the course last minute, general idea you're kind of going for is the fact that while they have strong engage for Dow, the peel that's available combined with the shutdown and lock from Darkside can enable them to come back around with a Naro and Alucard, which is really funny that his name's Alucard. Um,
Yeah, wait. You have
that's
someone
a
whose name is Alucard. You're
as
not banning
Alucard
Vlad?
is already playing Vlad. Vlad banners only would have something to say
Wow.
about that. Either way, I can see how they might wrap it back around. And the thing is, they're
Yep.
engaged, like you said, is shut down very quickly. You throw in Morgana into the mix. You throw in a good root from Xayah combined with the slows and the tension, the
Mhm.
fear, even maybe, or Darius pulling out your team in half. And suddenly, what looked good for Dow doesn't anymore. But I will say, in terms of ease of access, it's harder, in my opinion, for Darkside to get a clean team fight that disengages all of Dow's pressure at
I
the same
agree.
time coming back into it. Dow, they just have to make
Yeah.
one really good engage, and that's
Yep.
very easy for them when you've got a Galio, Leona, and Aatrox to
Yep.
boot, right? Get one great engage on Vladimir Zaya when you know the window is available. Suddenly it's the 4v5, and then they just clean, right? At the
Yeah.
same time,
Totally
I
agree.
do think they're both contestable teams being in the top end of the bracket here on Light League. So these fights are going to be some pretty hefty back and forth. I don't think you're going to see the wipes, the 5-0s, the 4-0s,
Yeah.
right? It's going to be picking it 2-1, 3-3 until you get to this point where the team fight heavy engage presence from Dow either lights up or the
Mhm.
slipperiness of Darkside really comes out and shines.
Yeah, I think you summed it up entirely accurately. It's all looking for
I know,
how
I'm the
dark
color.
side is. Oh, wow. No one wants to hear me play by play, but I guess we're just switching roles now.
Oh, as the robot, you might have to.
Oh man. But like Darkside is really just looking for how they can find these counter engages and
Right.
really let Dao engage onto them and then just fight it back. But if Dao is able to pick off one of those, then yeah, it's kind of over.
I honestly think though that if Dow finds early success and they're able to stunt a lot of that growth here from Darkside, how does Darkside realistically find their way into it when their main win con is playing off of the response of some of these engages? And while yes, they can go deep with stuff like Vladimir and Hecarim and get some pick flanks or something going for themselves, if they're put back in any way, I really don't see this comp pushing back into a fight easily. I mean, Galio, Misfortune, Leona, Graves, Aatrox, that is
Mhm.
so aggressive. And when that's in the driving seat, it doesn't leave much leeway.
Yeah, I think their saving grace is going to be through the early game jungle pressure. Hecarim does bring a lot more pressure to lanes than Graves does, so I really do think it is on Wizward to find ganks and find early successes to put at least one or two of his lanes, at the very least one lane, in a position to be a threat. Because if they have that, then at least they're going into what I think is a slightly weaker early mid game team fight to being able to weather that storm, not lose too much ground, and get to where I think they have a very strong mid to late game team comp.
All right. Well, with all that being said, we're going to be making our way over to the first game of the second set here on the Excellency Lightly. Stick around for what will probably be an intense set of games here tonight. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Excellency Esports. We're bringing you the second set of the night here on Light League, Week 5. We've got Darkside Academy taking on Divine Ascension Obsidian. If you're just joining us, this is the first game, but, excuse me, there's plenty on the board for both these teams here as they are on the upper echelon of the bracket here in Light League. I will say, I'm still your play-by-play Roboto Man, color caster, but not really. Play-by-play Zephyr, joined by my lovely color photography raptor.
Yes, indeed, and we just saw what I think is an interesting level one there. They push in his 5 just for to ward the red buff. They warded it a decent enough time, but I think I would have rather liked to see them place that ward closer on the Raptor side. You know that Wizard is not going to be starting as red, so seeing when and if he's starting to make that pathing towards the top side of his jungle, I think gives you a bit more information. But either way, I like the coordination coming out from the team, and how they're looking to push in and invade the enemy jungle, while at the same time getting a bit of a defensive ward on their red just to see if any cheeky kind of invades or vertical jungling is forced out.
I will say one bigger thing to note off all of that, not even from Darkside, Darkside doesn't go for any sort of response. They
Yeah, you're
see
right.
that everyone pushes into the side of their jungle. They see that they get vision. A team with
Yep.
that kind of pressure would know to kind of back in, maybe even push in, get some of the vision control towards that Raptor end of the map here
Hmm.
on red side for, themselves. But they don't. And as a result, it doesn't matter if they get the information or not. It's a lose-lose for them. They don't find out
Yeah.
pretty much anything.
Yeah, they really aren't able to track the graves to understand how he's clearing, how fast he's clearing, and where he's going.
Right.
So yeah, there's no way
He could be full clearing. He could be going
oh,
Raptors.
the
Oh,
Leona though.
Divine. Early getting that level 2 advantage. I mean, that's what you like to see, though.
Yeah, I mean, the Leona realizing the level 2, I think that's a bit of disrespect coming out from Darkside's bot lane.
Right.
This is their first game, so maybe they didn't quite warm up before they played, and just kind of getting caught sleeping.
Yeah, everyone knows about the Leona level 2. Come on. Come on. Either way, it works out pretty well for them. But Pubby's healing up. He's got the biscuits to sustain
Yeah.
himself. He definitely came knowing what he was getting himself into, even if it was a bit more cheeky than necessary.
Yeah, it's on the support, so it's not as bad as if they got all that damage down on the AD carry, and then you start
Right.
getting into situations where like any kind of potential like a Q2 or Q from an MF will potentially even force Interrupt back, and that would just be a nightmare for a bot lane where I think we're both looking to either AD carry to really pull ahead and become the kind of standout carry for their team. I think Lexar come the mid late game has a bit more of a tall order
It's
ahead of
huge.
him with the lack of peel that he's gonna have. Ooh, the failed taunt.
Oh, misses the taunt out. Void looking worse for it, but Saturation 3 is right on the bend there to go back into a great knockup on St. Alucard. He's going right away, forced to flash immediately there. They're going to pump it back out onto Wizward as well, but that was a beautiful shadow there from Saturation the third. Or Saturation
Yeah,
3.
and absolutely beautiful re-engage from Void there to just communication, being like, all right, I'm right here,
We're
just
going
bring it
back
back.
in.
And I mean, Inaro, what are you doing?
Ooh. Naro getting
Why?
hit pretty bad for playing aggressive there.
Inaro, okay, that makes much more sense.
Silly.
I'm just like in a row. Okay.
I mean, that sounds way cooler.
Anyways, I like just W trading on Zaya is definitely something that can work really well, but I mean when you're already under like an early pressure bot lane where you don't have priority, you really don't want to be kind of taking those aggressive trades. You really just especially when the lane is about to push back out because of all your feathers, you really just want to be playing that one slow. Whoo, adrenaline. Getting a really good trade out.
Oh,
Oh, dive.
flashes the bleeds there. Sadly, he had to run back out of that. He almost had the stacked Q, but he missed it. He was too
Yeah.
far forward. Flash not quite in the right position. Oh, but that's what I like to see. I like to see the contestability up on that top side. Now, off of first back here, we'll
Yeah.
have to watch and see what the itemization is to see. It's a pickaxe into the Kindle Gem response. Both of them taking strong tents towards the heels. Curious to see if that additional health helps Coltonson fight this one out, or the grammage gonna give them the oomph that adrenaline needs.
What
Ooh.
is grammage? Are they
Grammage
fighting with
is
grammar?
grammar damage.
Ah, My English teacher told me about this once back when I was in high school.
They turned the word alive into dead. It's a few letters off. Oh, Void. Good rotation from the mid lane here. Gets the immediate taunt onto Pub. Paired with
Oh,
massive Zenith Blade for a first blood for Lexar. Very nice
yeah,
rotation.
absolutely beautiful. They don't have any they don't get any river vision as the wave is forced to push back out to them. And so honestly, just from a beautiful play from Void, as it starts to push back towards Darkside, roams down, gets that play off right before the wave pushes just
Ooh.
too far.
Ooh. Love it. But it's a turret. No, continue.
It's a dragon.
Oh!
Ooh. But like,
I love
and then you
Darius.
just miss all of this experience on Inaro, and if you're falling behind like that on Zaya, I mean, he is ahead in CS, just I think through better farming potentially, but you do miss a decent amount of experience even though he's up a level somehow. I'm so confused. He missed like a wave and a half. What's been going on down there?
A lot of
But
pressure, man. A lot of pressure. That's what's been going on
yeah,
down there. Nilona may be good, but when you've got a black shield to contest against, you don't
true.
actually have the chance to step in as much as you would like.
Yeah, true, true. And I do think that both bot lanes have been playing relatively well up to this point, and Void just makes a great first move, and I think that that's the kind of early aggression that they need to be taking when they don't necessarily have a jungler that can do it for them. I really like that roam from him.
Right. And his main might not be Baby Claps anymore, but he still has the presence on the map. Lexar, if he gets ahead, is something more contestable than anyone can imagine. You really don't want to see this guy into a power position. We've seen him prove it time and time again. He is just absolutely indomitable if he manages to get a fed on the AD carrier role. So 1 kill in his belt already, not quite there, but on the path. He's definitely got that in his future if he wants.
Yeah, both AD carries kind of set it, like just showing some strong mechanics off the front of it, and really excited
And
to
look,
see how
he's
bot
already
lane
back up
continues
in the
to play
wave.
out. Yeah, it's they pushed it back out. He had a really smart cheater recall off just to get back while that push back towards him. Doesn't really miss much. Gets a nice little reset for his noon quiver. And I mean, the more I'm seeing from these bot lanes, the more I like. I'm really excited to see what I know are going to be some
Ooh.
huge plays coming in the bot lane from both teams as we're getting a
Saturation doesn't know
four-man dive.
Wizwords there. He's going to be bounced off pretty quickly, and there's going to be the Dark Binding as it comes into a double taunt from Void as he comes over the wall. Satch goes down, but Wizward's going to burn. There's the bullet time as we do see the Feather Storm make sure that Inaro doesn't get caught out there, but Pub is
Oh,
looking low. Now, St. Alarco comes in as a
there it
big
is.
root, just absolutely bursts through Divine X, and they finish out Void as well. Great rotation from Darkside to ruin that dive.
Yeah, just great sniffing out that the four-man dive was coming. They were ready for it. I think Void had a great flash taunt over the wall. They almost had the burst off. Saturation almost got out, but it just wasn't quite enough. And Inaro just, I mean, there are so many moments in that
Just
fight where it was
if
so
so
close. It
close.
was so close. The feathers were fading. They were almost down. Gets the pull off at the last moment to get that massive burst down, and I mean, just cleans up the fight off of it. So it's one of those
Right.
situations where a couple of seconds are all that make the difference between Darkside winning and Dow winning. And I think it was
Ooh.
it was ooh, great
Notice
black shield.
that the good solar flare, but doesn't quite connect. And
Oh,
now
but
you get
that
a teleport from Adrenaline over the side here. Naro's looking low. He's gonna go down, but not before the response from the guillotine comes through from Adrenaline. Oh, there's Void. They're gonna get the burn tick off on Divine, but Pubby's looking low, and Void coming through with that heroic entrance, gonna make sure that they both die. Paired through with Saturation the third. Oh, the health is strong here from Adrenaline, but he still goes down. Double for Void. It's a triple in favor here of Dow. What a team fight.
Yeah, Adrenaline ults early there just to try to save his support. When I think it honestly would have been better to go for the reset because I almost wonder if he wouldn't have just straight up 1v2 the jungler and the mid laner after that, because I mean Void was so low that if Adrenaline still has his ulti, I really do think he cleans that whole fight up. Either way, gets 2 kills. They trade 2 for 3. I think Inaro just went a bit too hard trying to
Yeah.
support his top laner killing the MF, but I mean, fight
It is
after
what it
fight
is.
in the
Fight.
bot lane, and it's awesome.
Ooh,
I'm enjoying
pub.
all of it.
Caught
Ooh,
through,
buddy.
stunned out. Black Shield ain't gonna work for you. Lexar picks up an easy, easy kill there. That's
Yeah,
not good.
yeah, you get caught when your AD carry doesn't have priority. You try to take a really aggressive pathing back into lane, and you just get punished for it. So I mean, yeah, just a mistake coming out from his part there.
Ooh, good taunt. Alucard, he still has pull available, so he can walk out of that one pretty safely. But it doesn't bode well, especially when you've got most of your major carries and pusher priorities here for the bot and mid lane. Not going to be able to show up on this dragon, right? They're going to be rotating, and I'd be curious if they keep the aggression lined up. But
Yeah,
it's
I
a
mean
3 for 4.
he burned his ultimate there, so they're gonna have to give the
Ooh.
dragon. They don't have one of their big team fight tools, and the second dragon is really huge for this team because I think when you see the scaling come through for Darkside, you start to worry, but all this early aggressions meant they don't get these early dragons, and the potential of like a late game soul turn is so much lower that at the
Hmm.
very least, even if you do start to feel a little outscaled, the soul win condition.
Good
Oh
bullet
no.
time. That's going to be a great Featherstorm from Anar to prevent that. Saturation 3's on the side, though, but amazing pullback on that route prevents it from going further. But continually, this bot lane is pushed back, and Lexar continues to bolster his lead time and time again. You know, that extra kill, the extra CS he's about to assume here as he pushes this wave in. But speaking of pushing, a good push onto Void as Woodward comes back through the back line. Say Alucard and them going to finish off
Oh
the
no.
bird here. Wait,
Oh, they
wait.
try to get the kill.
Forced to use Onslaught of
Oh.
Shadows there. Bit of a shame.
I think if you're
Still, they
gonna
get the
try to
kill.
donate, yeah, if you're gonna try to donate the kill like that, just onslaught early. Just use Wizard, use your ult early there, and ensure that you can donate that kill over to the Vlad. I just trying to hover it a little bit
I think they might have thought
almost
they could
gets
have
away.
pulled it kind of
Yeah.
without it.
I
And so, ooh, Coltonson off an
oh, adrenaline.
immediate World's End. Double flash from both of them there. Uses the ultimate to try out
Oh,
through, but it's a shutdown either way here. And now Rift deep in the mid lane. Gonna be taken out, but not before it does. Definitely gets that charge up, putting some gold in the pocket of Wizward.
yeah, but the solo kill coming out from Coltonson there, I mean, I wasn't
Pretty
expecting to
important.
see that. I think yeah, the Aatrox had been kind of playing the lane very safe. He's been farming very well. He used the time that Darius was bot lane very effectively to get himself ahead in CS. I don't know what the levels are. I'll have to wait a couple of seconds here. He's actually a level up. So I mean, I think Adrenaline just thought that his couple of kills would take him through and carry him into it, but Coltonson plays that fight very well and earns himself a solo kill.
It's skill on skill at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
We've seen time and again Adrenaline looking worse for wearing that top side, but he comes and pulls it back, and Colton and them draw out a bit even. So I can see how he might have been a little bit more on the US side coming out and trying to see if he could maybe eke out, but he really was punished heavily. Now both of them onto the respective unique score and stride, especially. Let's see who
Now he's gonna
could
go
eke
for it
out a
again.
win here. He's gonna, but Saturation 3's on the side there, so he's negated pretty much instantly.
And I mean, he really lost out on that trade. He got taken down to about a quarter health, all to do about 100, 200 damage to Aatrox. Like I don't, and he'll just heal that up off of queuing waves. So
Right.
I think Adrenaline needs to kind of calm down a bit and be playing around where his jungle is and being playing through jungle pressure now and not so much trying to absolutely body people in the top lane because you run the risk of throwing your lead.
Right. I'd still
Because
say
now
Darius
he's
is
2 levels down.
he's 2 levels down. I'd say he can still be a little bit of the worry to the team, but Coltonson continues to bolster his presence, which once we get into those mid to late game team fights, the Aatrox running at you is going to be much more of an issue.
Yeah, and I think you're right. The Darius, it's not like he's down for the count or anything like that. It's just that it's to quote a famous saying, it's a worrying trend.
Oop, good stun into Void coming through heroic entrance. Can't quite find anything. Pretty aggressive of a move there to end up with relatively nothing on 2 ults.
And you do have the Drake coming up in a couple of minutes, so I guess the Galio ulti should be back up in that time. You know, you're just looking for an aggressive play bot. I can respect that. And Zaya did go the Gale Force. I think that's definitely the correct item to go for here. And ooh, nice chunk onto Void. but as a whole, I Gale Force out. There's not really much you can do there. You didn't force the ultimate out or anything like that. But those are the kind of plays I guess you just keep looking for, because if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, I mean, you try again in a couple
Hmm.
minutes.
I will say they do force a rotation onto the mid here from my apologies, Saturation 3 and Divine X actually, because they don't want that wave to crash and give Alucard first turret.
hmm Yeah, giving the Vladimir first turret and just throwing all of that gold in his pocket would be a little scary. He's on his mythic item already. The
Right.
Galio did go ninja tabbies of all things, so I guess he's just a little bit worried about the
Ooh.
Zaya just absolutely eating through him as we
Pub
get into
looking
the
a little
dragon fight.
low. Wizward goes deep. That's an onslaught shadows, but it doesn't quite work out from Big Stone and Adrenaline to force him deep out of this fight. Alucard going to be pulling out of it as Wizward is in, taken out by Void now. They continue to pump the damage out as Inaro is very close to the front there. He's going to be knocked through, but there's the Featherstorm to make sure he gets out clean. The root onto Coltonson. Now Adrenaline finally stepping back into it as he used most of that time to keep Lexar away. It's that 4 for 5 though as we look towards that dragon now.
Yeah, Pub almost just gets deleted by the Aatrox there, but now you're looking at a 4v5, Lexar taking the 1v1.
Right, and he's going to keep pushing this
Love
one
the
out,
AD
and they
carry battles.
Dow just force their way into this dragon here, going to be putting out the pressure that they can. Notably, Adrenaline and St. Alucard are in a great spot to push them back, though. So the dragon is definitely super contestable. Alucard stepping up there, big E charge, uses the pull to make sure he gets out just in the nick of time. They're continuing to damage this dragon, though, back and
Wizard's
forth,
full health and
line
back from
up as
being
Wizard's
dead.
back. And they say
Yeah,
they don't want it.
they get the break. Yeah, absolutely
Wow.
great play from Saint Alucard there. I think he really just is the one who made that
Steal?
possible. That quick trade.
There's the
Oh,
and
okay.
there's the smite response. Bit of a shame,
Woo.
and
We don't get two in a row.
not quite, not quite. Not game one, set one, but now set two, game one. A little bit different.
Yep, yep, yep. We do see the smite being secured here as it should have been. Good job from Wizward on that. But I mean, as a whole, just you saw Alucard coming in, and I think he chunked the whole team out there with his
Right.
E. I mean, just the Vlad scaling is, and that's only going to get worse. You're going to get to the point where that's doing massive chunks to everyone, not just like, oh, it needs a couple of them before it really starts to hurt. And I mean, that's scary. And I don't even see grievous wounds from anyone on this team yet.
Yeah. Definitely something not to buy into. It's pretty cheap across the board if you want to make it happen, especially at this point with the item rework coming through a couple months a year ago. Either way, I will
Let's see.
months of a year ago. It's getting that point. Time works for Zephyr sometimes, sometimes not. Either way, I will say if fights play out like that again for Darkside, where they continue to eke out all the engage and make sure that they can't
Yep,
really lock down anyone, looks good for them. They constantly go in, out, poke, and use the
yep.
general CC to make sure that they don't see the hard lockdown from Dow. Pull that off in some major team fights, more contestable objectives, they win. Now Adrenaline here taking a pretty aggressive fight against Coltonson into his World Ender. He's going to be healing up. Once again, that ultimate used just to save the day a little bit longer there, but Colton continues the chase. His World Ender is down.
No,
He's still going to go
no.
out. Now Wizward on the side here. Unstoppable Onslaught. Good use of the Q to push that one off. But there's
Oh,
coming through with the
Galio
broke
ulti.
entrance. And now in a terrible spot. Taunted out. Pushed back in. Taken through.
Oh,
Colt with another kill. Now in the bot lane here. Responsive Renar going to be using that Featherstorm. But not before Pubbo goes down. Can Saturation fall through? There's the collateral damage. But it's not enough damage. Either way, 3 kills in favor of Dow across the map.
yeah, and Doom spelled for Darkside across the map is on the top. Adrenaline takes a really aggressive 1v1 again. This is the kind of worrying thing that I was talking about earlier, where he keeps going for these really aggressive trades that he doesn't need to go for and ends up losing out on, only for the mid laner to try to roam up off of Wizard and trying to somehow clean that up. And with no grievous wounds, also, how are you going to get through the healing Aatrox? And Galio comes up with a really clean ultimate. They secure that, so it's a double kill in the top side. And then we couldn't see the 2v2 happening in the bot, or I guess it was a gank from Saturation. But the Leona pulls through, and they aren't able to disengage from it, and end up getting the kill there. And I mean, it's just gonna keep continuing to transition. These little 1-2 plays are building this slow advantage. This is honestly just like you were talking about in pre-draft, where it was like we're seeing these 1 for 0 fights, 2 for 0 fights, and now a 3 for 0, and it's these little things, and then it's just gonna keep building until I
Right.
don't think Darkside will be able to eat that engage, and you're kind of entirely reliant on 5v5ing with a strong Vlad and a strong Xayah, and from here you need your hacker and get his Sterix gauge and then just go full tank. Because you're 1 and 3, you're not going to carry your team, and you don't really need to be a damage threat. You just need to be a frontline.
I think he's already on that kind of way there. He does pick up that stride to start thing or Divine Sunder. My apologies to start that off. So he's got the right idea. It's going to be a while though before he really has that ability. Either way, Dragon's up next minute or so. You already see some of that preparation coming out here from Darkside, taking the Sculler, putting the Vision down. Probably be the next point of contention for both of these teams.
Yeah, and the Darius does have his TP available, so does the Aatrox. So I imagine we might see some kind of TP
He'll
plays
be
coming
there.
out from the top laners. Yeah, they'll be there one way or another. It's a Drake. Everyone's gonna be there. And they're both kind of staying back, just looking to push the wave and get these and
Right. No one
wait.
wants to find
So I
themselves
think
in a disadvantage before Dragon.
exactly. So very smart play, very just safe play coming out from both teams. I do think that you could look for some kind of a pick, like you don't have the Galio in an ult range, so I think if you're gonna go for a pre-dragon play, that would have been the time. But I also think that Darkside is favored in a 5v5, so like if they are gonna have their chance, that's how they want to play it. Um, and meanwhile, we just have them death pushing here for
Hmm.
Dow
Could be bad
Wizward.
for Wiz. Stunned out immediately near into it. He's able to get out because he's fast, though. An immediate teleport now coming through here from Coltonson. This would be a time to play around the team if you want to make something happen, and Colton knows just that. World Ender into the rip back. Puppy Cock taken out immediately. You do have that onslaught to get a massive quad into the foot to fill. Now a major stun into the backline with the solar flare, trying to get out as Zanaro and St. Alucard chase
Yeah.
down Lexar, but it's punished out. Major kills in response, all of them down. Adrenaline and Wizward, the only two left alive, trying to eep up something. They managed to pull out Void, but not before the both of them. Well, Wizward gets out, but before Adrenaline goes down as well. It's that 4 for 2, but the Dragon continues to fall the way of Dow.
Yeah, so in that fight, it all just kind of starts off of Wizward blind checking the pixel bush without his team
Yeah.
to back him up, and I mean they've been playing so safe up to that point. You hate to see like what had been building up to a
Huge
huge
move from
like
Colton,
setup
though.
5v. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Just the man mode full on world ender engaged down the front to just have no fear and run him down. I really like to see that. You know, you just burn something off of them. Let's continue to push the advantage, and I don't know who called that for their team, but that's just a lot of trust and a lot of coordination
Right.
to really
Because he
push
probably
forward and
saw
fight through
Adrenaline
that.
back and then plays off that, knowing that he's not
Yeah.
going to be there. It's a 4v5 right off the bat. And bam,
Yep.
like I said, if you want to make something happen, time is now. And he did exactly that. So good for them. They managed to eke out two additional more kills on Alexar. And he's sitting at 6-1 now with more grievous wounds on the board, like you said from earlier, for
Yep.
everybody. So Dow
But
starting to
what
look
I
pretty strong in the driver's seat.
But I also want to point out is that Inaro was the one that was diving Lexar. So like we had kind of swapped roles what it felt like,
Yeah,
where I would have liked to see, Adrenaline and Alucard being the ones in the back line, was Inaro being in the middle of the team fight.
pretty
And
greedy.
I've seen some decent Xayah mechanics coming out of him in terms of his feather usage. Oh, we have a
Ooh.
2v1 here.
Colton feels it up pretty hard with the World Ender, but he is slowed out. Big teleport, though, coming through from Void to make the play happen as Divine and Lexar rotate up. Double taunt, all 5 members. They know
Oof.
they're up into the hell of the landscape. Double kill for Lexar as a massive rotation from Dow comes through.
And Colton is just huge. There is still no
That's
grievous
Baron.
wounds for Darkside. There is not a
Oh,
single grievous wounds item on that team, and you're trying to 2v1 an Aatrox. What are you doing?
you saw him
Like
chunk
there's
back a third of his health. I mean, it was like, okay, cool.
yeah. What does that tell you? What does seeing an Aatrox heal for instantly a third of his health? What does that tell you about your itemization? It's not good. Eh, And it's when we're seeing these teams, which I think at a macro level have both been playing relatively well, Dow just kind of getting the better of them. It's the little things like itemization choices that when we're talking about the top 3 or 4 teams that I think are gonna really widen that
All the
gap.
little things. It's the 5% that separate the best from the worst here. And Dow,
Exactly.
coming off a really hot victory against Degenerate Esports, the best team in the league,
Yep.
they just played against what was considered the best, right? So they're expecting the
Yeah.
best terms of play.
Yeah, and I mean, we were even a little worried for them in terms of, oh, what's your mental like coming off of a 45-minute slog of a game where you are all ahead, but it takes you that long to end that it can just feel like it's forever. But I mean, they hit the ground running off of this one. So I don't think this team is tired at all. And I think if anything,
They're here.
they caught Darkside sleeping coming in for their first game.
Absolutely. And now coming through with the Baron, they're going to be starting to clean up the map, get some of those turrets down that they've just been
Yep.
waiting to get rid of. First up on the bitch. My apologies. First up on the rift.
I didn't even think it's 26 minutes and there's only been a couple of turrets taken by them, and I mean they're just gonna even up that now. And then I like what they're doing here where they're 4-1ing toward the bot side. They don't really need top right now, but they
No,
want to make sure that all of these bot side turrets are gone, so when the next dragon's coming up, they have complete control over the enemy bot side jungle.
they're just
And
going to
that
siege
way
this.
when we look for this next 5v5, I think you could play it a little farther up to try to protect your cannon minion. But I respect the let's wait for Colton to also get all the wave
Right.
under
You're waiting
tower to
for
give that
them.
pressure. Yeah. So
Now you force the
after
response
this,
from Adrenaline. You know it's the 4-on-4. It's
yep.
guaranteed at this point to crash next wave pretty much and get turret, especially if you keep the pressure on from Colton.
And at this point they have
Yep.
some vision in the enemy bot side jungle, but I really want to start to see them also clear that out, get pinks in there. We have a couple in inventory as well as the sweeper off of cooldown for Leona, so
Oh,
it
they
looks
will.
like exactly what they're going to be doing. And from here, once they control the bot side jungle, when this dragon comes up in about a minute, there is no way that Darkside will be able to safely come into this, and it's sole point, so they have to try to find a fight one way or another, but there's not a real way that they can do it.
No, they've already took control. They're already in the pacing. They set up pretty aggressively into these bushes, making sure they know what is about to happen. I mean,
Oh, the
Colson's
early
going to
world
use
ender
that
though.
World Ender, just
That's a bit
pressuring
of a
him off.
mistake.
Well, it depends. If he can keep him far enough back, I could see its use. But if they eat their way into it, oh my
If
gosh, where
if the dragon were
the
already
team's
up and
calling? The
they
team's
were
not
able
calling
to.
it. No, the team's not calling at
Oh, they're
all.
just giving soul.
They're
Yeah, they're
just
giving
giving
soul.
soul.
I mean, they have no vision. There's no way for them to safely go, even though they do already have the world ender burned. I
It's
agree
not
that I
enough.
think that would have been it's yeah, it's not, and I guess they're gonna wait. They're gonna try to scale up a little bit more and maybe look for some kind of a fight around Baron. It is Cloud Soul, so the only thing that's really scary about that is the Leona being able to follow up. I guess actually Cloud Soul's amazing for that team. What am I saying? Aatrox is just gonna zoom
Huge
straight
engage. We
past
saw
your
how fast
whole
Colton went the
team.
first time.
Exactly. Galio is gonna come out of his ult, start charging his taunt, and he can go anywhere. He'll be zooming. Leona can make a really long-ranged R engage and instantly be there to follow up on it, so you never have to worry about like, oh, she's so far away I can flash. No, she'll be right on you. I mean, there will be some situations where she might be able to just walk and Q you and hold on to her E. I mean, Cloud Soul is looking really strong for them.
Right, and so we'll have to see how they play around, especially now as they're going to continue pushing these waves in, probably with the similar 4-1 that we saw from Colton Sun,
Yep.
right? So, gonna keep
I
pressing
I
out.
I
Baron,
think when you don't have Baron, you can kind of look for more of a 1-3-1 just to split it up. Or if you are gonna 4-1, I'd actually like to see the 4 go top if you don't have Baron, because you need something that can create the pressure and force them off the tower. Otherwise, in a 1v1, there's not a real way for you to pressure that tower without the Baron minions. So would have liked to see them maybe go for a bit more of a shifted focus here, but they are at the very least doing just putting all their pressure topside now. We have Baron coming up relatively soon, not too soon, so they can play it a little bit slowly. Death push though, maybe.
oh, Blast Cone, they just say, nah, man.
Yeah, that's smart. They prioritize the tower. No one's coming to defend it, and they just make that rotation up. Now they can just walk right back through the jungle where they already have all of this vision. get mid lane back pushed out, and all you have to do is continue controlling the top side of the jungle, wait for Baron, and any time you catch anyone from Darkside slipping alone, or you see anyone, you have an instant go button. Aatrox will be on them in a moment. Leona will be on them in a moment. I mean, there's it right now.
Yep, there they go. On to Adrenaline. Get the pull back immediately. Colton World Ender. There's the solo fair, but he keeps going in with the flash. Backline bullet time as well. They're using Alucard, but it's not enough as the heroic entrance continues it up. Lexar continuing the fight. Big flash
Woo!
away from the Hemo Plague to secure that double. And now Wave crashing into turret here. They could finish this one out as they continue the
Yeah,
aggression
they're
and
gonna look
pick
for
up
the
this
end.
inhib.
Yeah. I mean, just like they don't even need the Baron. They're just saying, okay, we caught one sleeping, we turned it into a fight. I am the color caster again, and now they're ending the game.
Right, coming through here, they pick up the first Nexus. Wizward deep in the back, trying to punch him out here. He's going to be shielded, but it's not quite enough. They go for a double root from Inaro, but he's going to have to use the Feather Storm to keep himself alive, but not before Lexer gets the auto off. Finally, we do see a response from Pubby to get the kill onto Saturation 3, but not for
Pulled him
a
into the
good
fountain.
ball from Adrenaline to end the reign of Lexer. But still, that is Nexus turret in end of your
All right, and
game.
as you're a robot, I will wrap this one up. It's yes, I think Lexar went a little bit hard there, looking for the kill on the pub, but
But
I mean, it's not
turn
like they lose anything off of it. They're still in a position to end. I think if they play it a bit slower, they do end the game there. But yeah, again, nothing wrong with going for the flashy play. You're in a position to win the game one way or another. Now they just come back out from it. You have Coltonson with his TP up, so you can send him bot lane and then immediately move the pressure from forward back into top. Start pressuring the Baron. Anytime you want to go, you have enough deep vision for you're about to establish enough deep vision for Coltonson to be able to get any flank ward or flank TP he wants off, and from there it's just Baron in the end, and maybe they'll go for an Elder. They're gonna clean up the bot side jungle, get red buff and things like that. But I do think that Baron is the correct play.
right, and at this point, ooh, Colton here going to
Oh,
be
yep.
going aggressive. Wizward can't even find the unstoppable. Goes over the wall, not quite. And
Yeah.
now he's taking out Pubby low. There goes Wizward, 2 down. They can
It's
continue
just
pushing this
so
one out.
fast.
End the game.
The engage just happens so fast that you
Instant.
can't be that far out.
Naro,
Yeah,
back up.
it's
Back
it's
up.
yeah, it's you can't be that far out, see Aatrox, and think, oh, I'm fine at a distance. If he's on your screen, you're not fine.
Already over, buddy. All right. At this point, you've got Alucard going in, trying to stunt the growth of this team. Adrenaline, though, ripped to shreds. Lexer fixing that one and turns his attention to Gnarl to get rid of him as well. Now Alucard just punished out as they rip through the rest of this base. Dow, Divine Ascension Obsidian take game one. Such an incredible fashion.
Oh yeah, absolutely just dominant performance coming out of them. Very proactive gameplay. I think the macro play was relatively clean for them. I don't really I can't think of anything major that I can call out as like a point of improvement. I'm really happy with what I was seeing. Um I think they played really well towards the win condition. Coltonson, I mean, silent carry in the top lane. Yes, Lexar comes out of that 15 and 2, but Colton just really impressed
So
me with how
strong.
oh yeah, played
Especially
the
after losing to a degree on the top side to
yeah,
begin with, coming
he was
into like the 2-1 Darius and still winning it out.
he was
It's
down.
impressive.
Oh, he was down 2 kills because of that play, the TP play that Adrenaline made. So he's in
Right.
a lane where he's potentially down in gold but up a little bit of experience and managed to turn that around pretty much by himself.
With all that being said, though, still 2 games, or my apologies, 1 game left to play. There's technically 2 for these teams, but we're only casting 1 more. Either way, 1 game left to play in this set here between Darkside versus Divine Ascension Obsidian. We're going to be right back as we get our way over towards the draft and make that all happening. Be right back.